Hello, everybody. Welcome to this month's SmartTake. Brian, you are back in the hot seat today. We are going to be talking all things HubSpot product update. Welcome back, Brian.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, it's good to be back. I was out last month and I heard right before in the backstage room when Paul and I were prepping that we had the highest number of live attendees last month, which is awesome. And I realized it's not me everyone's coming to see. It's Paul.
Ah,
Thanks for those of you who bear with me on this stuff. I get the inspiration from Paul, who drags me into this every month, and I love it. When I have the chance to go deep on a particular feature and be able to present it to folks, I learn it better myself. So I love joining these, and thanks, Paul, for having me back.
awesome. Well, thanks, everybody, for joining this month's SmartTake. For those of you that are joining us today, the real reason why we created SmartTake is HubSpot launches 100 plus updates each month, and it's hard to stay on top of what are the new updates in marketing, sales, service hub, etc. And so what we've done is essentially taken all of the updates that the HubSpot product team has launched over the course of this last month and distilled it down into like the 5 most impactful consequential updates for your organization. Our hope is that you can take some of these updates, take them back to your team and say, we should implement this feature this coming month. It's going to help us work towards our goals. It's going to help improve our AI fluency. It's going to help make us a better, more efficient, effective team. And so we're going to go through these 5 updates today. And if you're a HubSpot admin or HubSpot user, you are in the right place. So without further ado, let's jump into today's first update. And we are going to be talking within an update within Sales Hub. And this is specifically related to goals. So the update number 1 today, creating goals based on leads, emails, and activities. Why is this useful? I love having the conversation every month with our clients related to goals. And oftentimes they're related to driving new leads into the funnel. They're driving more closed won deals. But I think the overall HubSpot product app hasn't given maybe enough love to maybe marketing related goals. And so this update coming out this month is the ability to create more types of goals based on driving more leads, sending out more email to individuals, or logging more activities inside of your CRM. So the goals app is just getting more and more customizable. And I think this is really useful. Everybody on your team should have some kind of goal, whether that's specifically related to closed won revenue, or it's driving pipeline, or it's driving some sort of activity that helps make you be able to spin your flywheel faster. So big update today, creating some of those goals. I'm just going to quickly show you what this looks like in app so you can have a sense of how that feels. And so you can see inside of here, once you're in the goals app, you have the ability to create a number of different goals. So this one specifically related to leads. If I were going to be setting this up for my team, you go in, you click on the goals app, and then you can see the different objects that you can create this around. You can create it around standard objects as well as custom objects. So if I was doing a lead related one, you click lead. I'd probably set it up based on the number of leads created by a specific user, aggregation, probably the sum of the leads that were created. And then you can go ahead and save this, and then you can assign it to an individual, a specific team in your organization. And then going forward, you can really see if you're on track or off track to hitting your goals. So super impactful update for this month is related to goals. All right, let's jump to the next one. Brian, tell us about Data Agent. What are some of the updates to Data Agent this month?
Awesome. Yeah, happy to jump in on this one. Data Agent is one of my favorite AI tools within HubSpot right now, because I feel like the key value prop is it really saves go-to-market teams a ton of time of researching and enriching, saves BDR's time on research, just bringing greater intelligence into contact and company records, which is what data agents served prior. Now we can also grab information have data agent run on deals, tickets, custom objects, so all the object types inside of the portal. I'll show you a quick look at like how this looks and how to create a custom property for this. But as a quick review on data agent, kind of where this fits and why it's valuable, is it's a smart fill property that you can run on any object now or any of these objects. And it can either do web research externally, it can do internal research across all the unstructured data in your CRM. And I'll show you an example right now, specifically related to call transcripts. So here's an example that I like. We're going to go into properties. So in settings, we're in properties. We're going to go to deal properties. We're going to go ahead and create a new property. This is going to be a data agent smart property. So it's a normal property creation flow. I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, this is example, customer mentioned pricing, or like people discussed pricing on a call. Now, interestingly, you could go ahead and create a property with Breeze. So it's just kind of giving you extra description, etc. But I just wrote a property label and I clicked make this a smart property, and it will automatically give me an idea of what a prompt could look like. Now, in this case, this prompt is saying review the 5 most recent calls transcripts associated with this deal and determine whether the customer mentioned pricing or anything related to pricing. We could say sales rep mentioned pricing. But ultimately, if you're a sales manager and you're going through a deal review and you want to understand what stages in the sales process particular deals are, and you don't have that and you're prepping for your one-on-one with your sales rep, for example, you go through to everything that's in the pricing and terms stage in your sales pipeline. You run this property, or you look to see what this property has filled, and you can get an understanding of if this is a price sensitive customer, you need to coach your rep on how to address some of those objections, or if this looks like it's actually on track to be a really healthy deal size and close this particular time. So it can help a sales manager, let's say in this particular example on a deal record, to be able to gather information from the most recent call transcripts. I think this is unbelievable. One note is that Data Agent consumes credits, and it'll consume 10 credits for each property fill run. And that's 10 cents. That's nothing. If I'm a sales manager, like, okay, how much is my time worth? How many minutes and hours do I have to do prepping? Do I have to do clicking through call summaries, going through each of the 5, trying to pull out? No, just let this run and give you the key information that you need before your one-on-ones. Love that example personally. But just to give you an idea, the smart property prompt, for another example, I was doing a ticket. This is a ticket object, customer pain points. I did the same thing. I clicked fill with data agent. It says go through the 5 most recent call transcripts associated with the ticket and understand the sentiment or the pain points that this particular customer is dealing with. That could roll up onto the ticket object and ultimately help a service rep to be able to deliver value more quickly and more contextually. So love those 2 examples, but that's data agent for you. And it's now available on deals, tickets, and custom objects.
Love that update, and also like how, HubSpot prepares the prompt for you. So it gives you that starting point, and it's a starting point, but it's editable. So like that specific prompt that you had was really related to calls. Well, a lot of people have notes within their CRM. They've got emails, things like that logged inside there. So I like how you can go ahead and edit that prompt before you actually take the thing live. So you're just a bit better. It's a little bit more accurate. You're going to spend 10 cents on each one of those. So awesome. Well, let's jump to the next one then. Scan and redact sensitive data in CRM
Mm,
properties. What is this, Brian? Take us through how this benefits HubSpot users.
totally. So sensitive data in is HubSpot's term for data that is protected or needs to be gated in some way. So a couple examples of this are financial data, or PHI, personal health data, HIPAA protected health data, like a diagnosis, or you could say a full bank account or social security number. Now, inside of HubSpot, when you are using HubSpot in a regulated industry where that information needs to be gated, encrypted, permission managed via pretty specific permissions and auditable, you're under a ton of scrutiny. And there are certain places in the HubSpot tool where you as a user don't really have control over the receiving of that information. So, for example, if you have a shared inbox and someone emails into the info at, healthcare company dot, they could offer up particular information that lands in your shared conversations inbox. There's nothing you can do about it, or you could delete it, but you might not remember, or there might not be total adoption and compliance across all of your varied team members. So, what HubSpot has done is it's created the ability to scan your CRM for the most recent 60 days to look for examples of data that could be sensitive and to be able to redact and remove that information from your CRM. So, it's a great tool from a compliance standpoint. And it helps you as a HubSpot admin to feel confident that their users are actually following regulated industry practices. This is currently live. You can go in and turn it on, but ultimately the way to find it, I'll do a quick share again and show you where it's located. We're back in settings underneath security over to sensitive data. And you can turn sensitive data on. If you have sensitive data on or you don't have sensitive data on, you can still run a sensitive data scan. So if you're not actually using the sensitive data features, you can still run a scan. If you have an enterprise tool, you can say, I'm looking for PII, or I'm looking for health information, or I'm looking for financial information, and HubSpot will go through and scan your entire system. If there are particular pieces of information or keywords that you want to exclude, you can do that as well. And then it ultimately gives you a pretty nice rundown. Emails, this was mentioned with credit card, medication dose, gives you detail, and then you can go through and remove those pieces of data from your system. From a
Awesome.
compliance standpoint, little extra insurance policy.
Love that. I think that's what some of the big concerns about putting in PHI and any kind of sensitive data into HubSpot is just like, hey, there's certain parts of HubSpot where this data could get up in there, could be added in there via a patient voluntarily sending that kind of information, and it's tough to stay on top of all that. So I think this is a really great feature. I love seeing all the updates that really allow healthcare organizations, financial organizations to be able to leverage HubSpot for various use cases. So that's a awesome update for this month. Okay, we're moving on. We are going to Commerce Hub next. Let's jump into property-based quote approvals or standard approvals. Brian,
Gotcha.
what is this? Take me through this. Approvals are not a new thing. How does this make our approval process better for Commerce Hub customers?
Totally. All right. So for folks who have used quotes with HubSpot, we call them legacy quotes now. They've had the tool before Commerce Hub launched, before Inbound this year, or using Commerce Hub features now to send quotes and really build out your full pricing strategy and sales strategy from like a rep standpoint. Approvals are super important. Right? You want to make sure that sales reps who are putting quotes together, are putting together the products, price books, etc., in the correct way, and that there's oversight from leadership. Standard approvals is and has been very simple. It's currently any quote or every quote that gets submitted needs to go to an approval, and it really bogs down sales leadership, sales management if you're going for something that's pretty straightforward and simple. We also have advanced approvals, so I can show that very lightly when I pop into a demo here. But the standard approval flow now gives you not only the ability to add greater detail and filtering to what deals will qualify, but the level of that filtering is actually pretty impressive. And it's a pretty useful update for businesses that have a couple different use cases. Takeaway, I think the TLDR on it is you can actually select who needs to do an approval and which particular deals of the 100 deals that come through any given week. Only 2 or 3 or 10 of them actually need eyeballs on it. Don't bog down the other 90, delay getting those quotes out the door. So, speed to quoting your prospect is the key to getting them a price and closing that deal. Under settings, under quotes, we're going to look specifically at standard approvals. We also have advanced approvals where you can set up workflow automations with greater triggering, filtering, etc. But standard approvals is you can set up one set of approval filter choices and criteria. And for what it's worth, standard approvals is pretty basic, and advanced approvals work independently, so you can only have one turned on at a time. So if you want to just go for the basic one, you could turn on standard, but people wanted a lot more on standard, and approvals was harder to configure. So here's an example. When a quote meets a particular criteria, require approval. I put a couple different examples in here for you. One example could be if someone has a total discount on the quote over a particular percentage, over 30%, yeah, that's got to go to director level. Or let's say net payment terms, they're asking for something greater than net 60. They're asking for net 90, something like that. That goes to the finance person. A couple other examples could be if their subscription terms, they're asking for not annual upfront, but they're asking for quarterly or monthly breakup of that billing that goes to a particular group. So whatever kind of a common request is from your customer base, that can be an example. Where this particular update goes a step further is to be able to do that filtering on particular on other objects. So not just on the quotes object, but on invoices, line items, subscriptions. So that's the billing terms. But the line item one I really like, here's an example. If a particular SKU, let's call it the example SKU, has a discount greater than 20%. So what we're doing is not just, hey, if this customer is getting a 30% discount. No, if this particular line item on that is receiving a 20% discount, that needs an extra approval. Hey, you might be able to discount your software 50% or 30%, but you can't discount your onboarding service greater than 10%. And that's going to be an example of a trigger. So wanted to highlight a couple of those for you. And approvals, I think, are a pretty important part of how sales teams get quotes out the door. HubSpot was lacking in some of this area, or it just was like everything needed approvals, a real pain in the butt. So now there's greater granularity for you. Tools in your hands.
Love the flexibility there. I think that Commerce Hub's been around for a few years now, and with the recent acquisition of Cashflow, I think over the course of last year, we're just seeing better and more configure ability within that. And I think that this is just one more area where if you checked out Commerce Hub a few years ago, didn't meet your needs, check it out again. The number of the features that have just launched this last year is accelerating, and the roadmap ahead too. Just it looks like there's a number of really great updates that are coming out. So certainly check that out in 2026 if this is something that maybe you're using an external quoting system. Think about that all-in-one nature, being able to have this all inside of HubSpot. Awesome. All right, we're jumping next one. I'm going to take this one: connecting custom object to knowledge vaults. Knowledge vaults. So for those of you that are starting to leverage some of the AI functionality inside of HubSpot, like custom assistants, for example. So we think about custom assistants. These essentially are AI powered chatbots that are used internally that allow you to be able to get more information, and it's almost like a chat GPT inside of HubSpot or a Gemini inside of HubSpot. And custom assistants essentially allow you to be able to create these custom agents that you can then use for asking questions about your different sales processes, or maybe you want to create a custom assistant to help a specific team to help them inform them on a certain type of process. But why this is really useful is that custom assistants and knowledge vaults, which is essentially the context within your custom assistants, we can now add in can now connect those custom objects to knowledge vaults. So let's talk about a little bit more like how is this useful? Like what specifically does this allow different organizations to do? So a couple of use cases. If you're a services organization, what you could do is let's say you have um, client project custom object inside of your HubSpot. What you can do is you could connect that client project custom object to one of your knowledge vaults and connect that within your custom assistant. And so what that does essentially is if you're a service-based business, instead of your account managers having to sift through spreadsheets of data to understand, what is the status of some of your client projects, they can just use a custom assistant and then be able to ask it, hey, what's the status of this specific project that we're working on with that? And so that's like really a great use case for service-based businesses if you're using any of the custom objects. Okay, what about a product business or like maybe a manufacturing business? You sell widgets. This type of update, if you have your inventory inside of HubSpot, and you've got maybe all of your technical specs and manuals and documentation related to your products inside of HubSpot within a custom object. You could connect that to your custom assistant. And why that's really useful is you're a salesperson, you go into your custom assistant inside of HubSpot, and then you could ask it questions about, hey, customer asked about this specific SKU or this part. What documentation, what types of manuals or engineering specs do we have related to that product? And you can just ask that question right within the custom assistant. So, like, these are use cases that are incredible with just the more information you have inside of HubSpot, the more you'll be able to leverage it for your day to day. And then the last type of example for leveraging custom objects is, let's say you're a subscription or you're like a logistics type of business. So let's say you have your, again, custom object, you've got an inventory object or you've got a contract custom object. And what you can do with that is, you could use a custom assistant and ask if a specific SKU is in stock, or if a client's unique contract terms will allow them for certain type of discount moving forward without having to get those types of approvals that we just talked about. So yeah, there's a lot of different use cases that are opening up with when you put in bespoke data, other types of data, and other types of objects inside of HubSpot. You can now just leverage those custom assistants inside of there. I love this update. Custom assistants really useful now. Down the road, when we see other types of breeze agents being able to act on this type of data, it's going to be so impactful.
I think the huge, like, yes and to everything you just said is really the summary of why Breeze inside of HubSpot's AI is so valuable as it compared to your Chat GPT or your Gemini gems. It's that HubSpot holds all of the business context of your business inside of one location. And that data that is in non-standard objects or needs to be referenced through a couple of Paul's examples could be in custom objects. And that wasn't accessible before it is now. I think that that's one of the final things in the total context picture that HubSpot provides. And we always say that AI is only as good as the data that powers it. And if your data is inaccessible because it's locked up in external systems, we can now represent a lot of that data inside of HubSpot with things like custom objects. So I'm excited about that, like this particular update, but also just that greater competitive story of HubSpot's AI serving our customers especially well because it has all that context.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That context is really critical for AI to be able to do its job. Just real quickly, and that before I jump to the next update, in terms of custom assistants, this is what I mean by custom assistants. So you click on right up here on the top right side inside of HubSpot, and you can see this is the Breeze Assistant area. And inside of here, you've got this drop down where you can manage your assistants and create new types of assistants. And really, every department and should have their own assistant inside of HubSpot at this point. Okay, let's jump back to our next update right here, which we are going to be talking about customer agent. I feel like we've talked about customer agent the last several smart takes, but one of the big updates that is in public beta now is for you to be able to do a lead qualification using customer agent. Why this is useful. Customer agent, a lot of people think of customer agent as like being a customer support AI chatbot, and it does a great job of that. But what customer agent is also very useful for is from a sales use case, and really being able to use customer agent to help book more meetings for your sales team. And that we're using this at SmartBug. We have a number of clients that are using this now. But essentially, what you can do is you can go in and define what the lead criteria is, or the lead qualification criteria is. And then your customer agent going forward will then will use that criteria, ask questions related to that criteria, and then tell you specifically if this person is qualified, partially qualified, or not qualified at all. So let's just jump into HubSpot quick demo on this. And what you see essentially, I'm going to just jump back one screen. You can see if you go to customer agent right here, and then you go, which is in the service drop down, you go service, customer agent, you're here, you go to the manage tab, and then go to agent goals. It's in beta right now, so you should see it pretty soon. But there is this generate leads functionality. When you click into that, this is where you go and set your criteria. So, we set it based on, what's your overall budget or what systems you use today. Or you actually have a project in mind, things like that. And what you can do is you set up all that criteria here. The AI chatbot asks all these types of questions, and then it gives you a label for that. And it automatically labels it on the contact record. This is really where it's useful. Is you can see there's a property on the contact record called customer agent lead status. And the AI chatbot tells you what that is. This is really useful. Allows you to start to create more reporting around some of your AI customer agent use cases and how well your AI chatbot does in terms of being able to qualify users and book meetings for you. And so love this update right here. And going forward, you should create some sort of customer agent dashboard. This would be a good report to be able to create on to create is the number of contacts that are created each month that are qualified, partially qualified, or not qualified at all. Really helps you see how well that customer agent is doing.
I think this one's huge, Paul. I'm gonna double click on this too. I am a HubSpotter, but I am also of the opinion that every customer, every user of HubSpot should have a customer agent running on their site. It's super valuable. And currently, or prior to this beta, yeah, you can train it on a knowledge vault. You can train it on your public facing website. You can train it on Google Docs and SOP stuff that you've written up, your inventory catalog, and people can ask questions to that on the front end sales or the back end from a customer success support service standpoint. But the question often comes down to, but can I trust it? Am I just sending some AI thing out there and hoping that it's going to represent my company well or be useful for me at the end of the day? And this is another example specifically for sales qualification use case. Say, yeah, you can put greater guardrails on this and give it more discrete and explicit instructions that says, okay, as if your frontline salesperson at HubSpot or at your company, we have them at HubSpot, we're asking strategic questions to that prospect to get an understanding of, okay, should we loop in a real human? Should we loop in a sales rep? I really like that use case. And I think it also puts a shining light on customer agent as that full business concierge, 24/7, your best person out there in the field, versus just thinking about it as a ticket resolution or a ticket deferment tool.
Absolutely. All right. So let's keep going on this. Just one more note on Customer Agent, this another update. This is really useful. And before you launch Customer Agent, you probably want to do a little testing first. So I'm just really quickly showing you the new screen and what this functionality does. Lots of new updates is related to Customer Agent testing. If you come into the testing tool inside of Customer Agent, which you can, if you go back to the main screen, you can click on Test SmartBug Agent, Customer Agent. It takes you into this window. The new update for this month is it allows you to see how that qualification process, how are they thinking about that? They provide more context. Hey, we're marking this contact as qualified because they said they had a specific budget for this. And so that's really where this new testing ground, the testing insight section, this is what you should be using and testing out various queries that people are going to be asking when they come to your website and how the AI is interpreting that information and looking at it. This is so cool. I love this. And you can also test it via live chat. You can do it on email. You can even do it on calling. I was testing this today. It's so cool. You can just talk to it and see how well the testing does with inside of HubSpot. So another great update in just improving the overall testing grounds and customer agent.
That's super cool. Thanks for highlighting, Paul.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, we're wrapping up for today. Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope to see you next month. Here, we just launched Mastering HubSpot AI. This is a new series for those of you that are trying to take your skills from the 101 level to 201 and beyond. So please do check those out. And we hope to see you next month, March 11th. Same time, same place. Brian, thanks again for joining us today. Have a great month, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching.